So tonight, New Year's resolution, it's January 12th. Hopefully a lot of people are already trying to get started on the right foot for health this year and want to lose some pounds or lose weight, fit into some clothes, feel better, look better. All of those things are great. But there are some major misconceptions about weight. And unfortunately, out there, we know that really traditional medicine isn't working for weight issues because it's getting worse. So obviously, the way we're approaching weight problems isn't correct, and the solutions that we're trying to use aren't working because, like all of the chronic illnesses out there, we're getting heavier, we're getting fatter is an ugly word, but we're getting fatter, we're getting more obese. Our children are becoming heavy at younger and younger ages, so it's not working. This is an epidemic. Obesity, and again, approaching new medicine from our other webinars, everybody knows that these are all signs that we're unhealthy. They're all signs that our bodies are unhappy. They're all signs that we're unbalanced biochemically. And obesity, it's a sign that our body's imbalanced in a number of different ways. It's not an illness. It's not a diagnosis. It's not something we're genetically set to get. This is an epidemic. It's an epidemic of modern societies. It's getting worse. And it's, of course, related to all illnesses. If you get heavier, you're going to have more cancer. You're going to have more heart disease, more diabetes, more high blood pressure, you name it. It's a sign of illness that goes along with everything else that does contribute to the downward spiral of getting sick. When you gain a lot of fat, fat produces estrogen. Fat produces a lot of bad chemicals, of inflammation, of a lot of different signals to the body that can cause other illnesses. So it's a part of the problem of all illness. So we don't want to be fat. If we're worried about cancer, the #1 killer. If we're worried about heart disease, the #2 killer. If we're worried about diabetes, #3, and high blood pressure and all these other problems, then we don't want to be heavy. So new medicine treatments don't focus on just losing weight, on just being heavy, but it's a major symptom that's going to get better when we treat the underlying problems. And the problem, of course, #1 is the food supply. It's toxic, it's high calorie, it's poorly nutritious. So we're eating all of these foods, we're overfed, we're undernourished. If you eat a Big Mac, it's at least 1,000 calories. It doesn't have a lot of nutrition. And a lot of the molecules and chemicals that are in the Big Mac, I'm sorry, McDonald's, but not to single them out, but the common American diet, fast food, wherever it may be, even eating out, whatever you call it, if it's not organic, real food, it's full of calories, low on nutrition, and full of toxins. So it's not food. And our bodies are simply responding to that, doing something with the calories, and then doing something with all of this misinformation they're getting, and the result is we're heavy and sick. Traditional medicine isn't working. Quick fixes don't work. Medications don't work, whether they be stimulants or amphetamines or whatever the heck we take, fat blockers, whatever medications that they're using to battle heavy weight that don't work. They make the underlying problems worse. And now the most common solution looking to the future is surgery, which is insane. We're going to go inside everybody, put a tube around their stomach or reroute their entire intestinal tract so that we don't absorb any of the things we put in our mouths. We know that's not healthy, and when I do new medical analyses on these people, they look alien. Their biochemistry looks horrible. So not to mention these surgeries cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. The complications cost even more. So to think that that's the answer is just ridiculous. And just like cancer, searching for the cure, there is no magical cure for these illnesses. Our health is getting worse. We're getting heavier. Obesity is getting worse because there simply is no cure. Here's a couple myths I want to dispel, and I saw one just the other day walking through Greenwise, one of my sources of healthy food, which I'm very lucky to have nearby. And it was Dr. Oz talking about chemicals. The chemicals are in our foods directly making them. Well, that's not far from the truth, but he's really oversimplifying it, and he's really not explaining it correctly. We're not eating foods that have chemicals that say you're fat, you're going to be fat. It's much more complicated. We're eating foods, again, that are full of calories and full of tons of different chemicals, but that creates a downward spiral of biochemical imbalance in our body, everything from hormonal imbalance to hunger chemistry imbalances to deficiencies of nutrients and other hormones that make us lean. So it sets off a downward spiral, and you can't one step is to stop eating chemicalized food, for sure, but unfortunately, you're going to remain imbalanced, and you need to have those imbalances corrected. So the other two parts of new medicine are not just the health style education of eating organic food, but it's replacing those missing nutrients and hormones that keep us lean and detoxifying the specific chemicals and hormones that keep us overweight and hungry. So there's a lot more to it than just chemicals, and you have to know how to truly detoxify the body and restore that balance. Now, talking about the three myths, and I put the word universal there because I think a lot in threes. I think it's a very powerful universal number, along with infinity and absolute zero. There's another list of three, but three really is a good way to explain a lot of things. So there's this chemical miscommunication. There's, of course, the medication and surgery issue about dieting, that any kind of medication or surgical fix is going to be long-lasting or healthy. Absolutely not. Medications are going to toxify us even further and further ignore the true problems underneath it. Surgeries really turn us into a zombie organism. And then really the biggest one of all, the diet myths. You can't diet to promote healthy weight loss, because diet's always, the word diet means doing something unusual with your foods. Typically it's some kind of food restriction, food group restriction, whether you're cutting out carbohydrates or fats, or I think there's even some diets that cut out protein. I mean, it just doesn't work. That's not healthy. We need all of those food groups. And I'll add in there cutting out animal products. Yes, we need to learn how to moderate them. We need to learn how to get them from healthy sources, but we need those nutrients as well. So I am not a believer necessarily in vegan or vegetarian. There are some positive points to those things, and I don't fault people for them, but we need broad spectrum foods. We are omnivores. We are designed to eat all the food groups. So again, a diet, removing something unusual from our diet doesn't, it can work short term, but never in a healthy way. And then what used to work, you know, 70s and 80s, the exercise, gym, you know, health fad phenomenon did work. People just simply decided, I'm going to eat better and I'm going to exercise. And as we were only starting to really toxify our food supply back 30, 40 years ago, that worked. So going to the gym and working out and burning off calories and just trying to pay attention to your diet, that did work. But what's happened since then is our food supply is getting so toxic, and our biochemical imbalances are set off on such a tremendous downward spiral, and they're so imbalanced, and our hunger is so imbalanced, and we're using so much medication, more and more and more, that's not enough anymore. You can go to the gym and burn 500 calories, and you know, every time I go, I stare at the rows of people on the treadmills and the ellipticals, and they're burning calories, and then they go home and they don't change their diet much. They don't know how to change their diet much, and they're eating that same toxic food, and they are still at their core extremely biochemically imbalanced. So it just doesn't work. It's like taking one step forward and 5 steps back. So unfortunately, more and more people in those gyms are just looking more and more unhealthy and trying. Bless them, they're trying hard. Now what works? And this is why new medicine works for weight loss. Again, just one of the things that we correct on the way to health restoration and biochemical balancing. But you have to become educated about where all these problems are coming from. That's our health style training. It is more than 50%, I think, of our treatment. Why we have the organization of counselors that can get paid to do this, because it's such an important part of our treatment. And there's really no point as a physician in trying to help someone get well if I can't treat them with education. So food education, organic foods, avoiding the toxic food, what the toxins are, where they're coming from, how some are hormones and how some are nutrient deficient, and how it all works together. That's where the lab testing comes in and shows them these things and teaches it to them, and why they emerge from this program just a few weeks later completely changed. They have this health style education. We've trained them on what real food is again, what humans are designed to eat, and they are enabled and empowered to continue wanting to eat that way because they've seen it work. Now along the way, of course, we're detoxifying them. We're making these biochemical changes quickly. We're using good data to restore what's missing, the key hormones and nutrients that are missing that are so important, like the D3s and the androgens and the thyroid appropriately, even growth hormone if needed. looking at the adrenals, all the things we do. It's all part of this education, but at the root of it is food and specific information. So you look at this problem just like you look at financial problems and debt, and until you learn the source of the downward spiral of debt and borrowing and credit and all that stuff, until you really retrain your brain into how that works, you're probably never going to get out of that cycle. Along the way, of course, we're using that testing. We're balancing biochemistry with great detail, very quickly, very naturally. That's why it works and works so quick. That's why weight does come off quickly. You feel good. You're reducing all those signals the body has to eat, and to eat bad foods, and to eat addictive foods and toxic foods. We're restoring the biochemical strength of the body to feel good quickly. And then diet and exercise, it used to work. Does it work now? Absolutely, when you've got these first two parts of the puzzle in place. You've got the education, you know what to do, we're getting you balanced biochemically, so now diet is truly means you're eating a healthy diet. Broad spectrum, delicious foods, the right amounts, you're balanced, you're not hungry, your metabolism is running correctly, you feel good, and you want to exercise. So we encourage exercising, we encourage it in smart, healthy ways. We want it to be fun, it can be very different things. You don't have to go pound the pavement, do an hour of cardiovascular every day. You do what's fun, you get your body moving, you feel good. And that, at its core, is what new medicine is and why it works and works quickly. So we'll talk about how weight comes off quickly with what we do. I think the people on board know this. Typically, our standard is 20 pounds every 3 weeks. It sounds like a lot, but really the body doesn't want this weight. When you start to mobilize the fat and restore the balance, it just comes off. It wants to. So we've talked about this a bit in some of our other webinars, but obesity is not an illness. It's a sign that we're not healthy. It's so common. 2/3 of us now in our children, BMIs should not be over 20 unless you're athletic and have a lot of muscle. It can vary, but it should be under 20. The human body wants to be lean. You look back at pictures of people, hundreds, even just 100 years ago, but specifically a few hundred years ago, the body wants to be lean. It's a healthy body. It's body fat somewhere between 5 and 15 for a man, 15 to 25 for a woman. We were just well over that. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. Clothes don't fit well. You're not healthy. Biochemically, you're a mess. So we do need to lose this weight. It's not a stigma. It's something to be ashamed about, but it's something that people need to search out the right information. They need to stop going to the fad diets, the fad clinics, using the artificial products and medications. And everybody knows we use the HCG detoxification to mobilize the fat. It's an incredibly effective system. Unfortunately, it's really bastardized out there by every clinic I see in this country. They don't use it correctly. They don't prepare it correctly. They don't know how to use it. They don't know the science behind it. So again, new medicine is the answer. We need to get everybody we can to the system. It's very easy. It's very fast. We've got some great new products, great new prices to come out this year to help everybody in this economic time to get healthy now, because getting healthy saves so much money. Here's obesity, heaviness, a little bit more complex. We talked about food being overfed, undernourished. Toxicity is increasing, leading to the hormonal excesses. I might refer you to the hormone webinars we did. It's a little bit more complicated, but high estrogens, high leptins, high insulin just promotes weight gain, fat deposition, inflammation, water retention, all the stuff we don't want, doesn't feel good. Think about a woman in premenstrual times. We're all there all the time, just from the estrogen alone. So we've got to get rid of these excesses. They're coming from the foods. They're coming from the medications that we take, from birth control pills, from the hormones that most women are getting prescribed, even from the quote-unquote alternative doctors who do bioidentical hormones. They do excessive estrogen. They do testosterone in a woman, which is really never needed. Doesn't make any sense. We wouldn't give estrogen to a man. We shouldn't give testosterone to a woman. They're just doing things incorrectly. And then there's the hormone deficiencies we talked about in our webinars, the progesterones in women, testosterones in men, thyroid, and everybody growth hormone. These are all very lean body-promoting chemicals, hormones that are low in everybody. And they're from the toxic disruption. They're from the toxins. So they need to be restored in many or most people. Medications make things worse. Psychiatric medications. Everybody knows that when people get on most antidepressants, they get heavier. They make the problems worse. They make the deficiencies worse. They make us more toxic. So medications are making things worse. They're good for symptom control. They can be used short term. They're There's a time and a place, but 90% of the time we are being overprescribed more chemicals. It's making us not just more sick, but more fat. And all of this promotes, well, it all rolls into this new lifestyle, very sedentary inside, working all the time in front of computer screens. That's well and good to work, be efficient, be productive, but then you got to get up and go. You got to get outside, experience the 3D vision that you don't need special glasses for, and just get outside and use that body and feel good. Of course, you got to feel good to want to do that, and that's what we're doing as well. Get you feeling well, get your body feeling like a body again, and get you moving. So here's our solution. Instead of being overfed and undernourished, we experience good food, we experience the detoxification program, the health style education, and we learn what food really is. We detoxify the toxins, the chemicals, the heavy excess hormones. We learn where they're coming from. We avoid those foods. We avoid those medications. And we replace the deficiencies that are missing, both nutritional and hormonal. Along the way, we reduce and eliminate as much of this medication as we can. Usually we can get rid of nearly all of it, unless you're severely, severely ill. That only increases your detoxification ability and how you feel. Nobody likes being on a lot of medication. We know it's toxic. We know they have side effects. We know they're addictive. We know they're expensive. Let's get off of them. And then we start feeling better. We get back to that active lifestyle. So it's that downward spiral, turning it around and making it an upward spiral. Detoxifying, learning how to eat good food, exercising, feeling good, getting balanced, teaching others. Sharing the wealth, sharing the health, spreading it to all of those that need it. That's the vision and mission and what we're going to do this year. Here's that downward spiral. As you get heavier, you put on fat. That fat stores more toxins and produces more toxins, produces estrogen, produces insulin, produces leptin, produces inflammatory chemicals. So it is a downward spiral. You take more medication. You feel worse. You get more side effects. You get more toxic. You get addicted to those meds, whether they're prescription street, what have you. The toxic chemicals we're addicted to, even the foods, even some of the natural things we're given, like the estrogens we'll talk about. You get addicted to that stuff. You got to get away from that. As a result, your energy and your activity decrease, your hormonal imbalances get worse, and your hunger gets worse. We talk about leptin. We know how this works very well with the detox. Most people don't. They talk about resetting the hypothalamus, things like that. It's really leptin sensitivity. We know how to do that. We test it. We show it to you. When you see your results in black and white, when you see your leptin at 35 and then you detoxify, you lose weight, you feel great. When it's 10, you say, now I know why I'm not hungry anymore. It's all part of breaking that downward spiral, turning it around to the upward spiral where we're reducing the fat, we're mobilizing it, we're getting the toxicity out of it. We are increasing energy with all of the biochemical balancing, getting the high levels down, replacing the low levels, and as a result, we know we can taste food better. Our food allergies go away. Our taste buds improve. Our hunger decreases. We know what good food is, and people say, wow, I can't believe how great it feels and tastes to eat good food. And by the way, I'm not as hungry as I used to be. That's a wonderful feeling to not have to eat all this junk all the time. You find yourself in front of Taco Bell at 11 p.m. putting down another couple thousand calories. So we're reducing symptoms, we're reducing illness, we're reducing prescriptions, we're reducing all chronic illness whatsoever. This is preventative health. This is how you do it quickly, effectively, efficiently, with education along the way. And talking about obesity, you're going to lose a lot of weight. It's a lot of fun. There's no time like the first time. That's what the DNA Network is here for. Let's get out there and help people and just watch them lose weight and feel great. Make a career out of it while we're doing it. So here's the results and why it works so quickly. We're talking about fat mobilization, losing fat. It happens quickly. We're talking about 5 to 15 pounds the first week. Half of that's fat, half of it's toxic water weight you're going to lose and not gain back. You're going to be drinking a lot of water. That's awesome. It's a lot of fun. You lose weight. You feel great. 5 pounds a week after that. So it's 20 pounds every 3 weeks on average. We have seen in excess of 50 to 60 pounds in 6 weeks, very commonly 100 pounds in 6 months. This is awesome stuff. You just have to do it and commit. You emerge a new person, feeling great, looking great with this entire new appreciation for life, food, and health style. We call it your biochemical balance. That balance makes your body want to stay healthy. We've removed all those imbalances that are what promote the heavy body. So your body wants to stay lean. Your thyroid's balanced, your progesterone or testosterone are balanced. Your growth hormone has improved. We've removed the chemicals that make your body want to be heavy. You feel better. Your hunger is normal. We talked about reducing the leptin or increasing the sensitivity of leptin. Your energy is better. Your zest is better. Your mental clarity is there. So it's just when you feel good, that's when you can stick to it. When you do diets or you do medications, you do all these other things, you do surgery. Good Lord, surgery, you can't eat much again ever. Diets, you come off and you jump right back. Your metabolism is slow. You use something synthetic to speed up your metabolism, and you get off that medication and you just gain back more fat. You burn muscle, you burn bone. So unhealthy. So that's just not the way to do it. That's why we're getting, another reason why we're getting fatter. We're just yo-yoing higher and higher. You need this health style education. It's going to last your whole life. The more you share it with others, the more you're going to reinforce it. And again, we're not just talking about obesity here. We're talking about all disease. These same issues are what cause the inflammation behind all of the degenerative problems of hearts and brains and bones and joints and immune systems, not to mention cancer. We're going to talk about cancer next week. So that's my 20-minute power obesity discussion. I would love to have some discussion today. If anybody has questions, I wanted to start cutting these shorter, short of half an hour, so we can have some good Q&A. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Along as we wait for those, I'm going to jump over and just show some of the great pictures we have of some of our testimonials. Here's a great one. Mr. Torsi, our esteemed head of marketing and business development. There's Bob before. Bob really just wanted to lose some weight, not a lot of health problems. There's Bob after. That's how quick it is. That was about 30 pounds in about 4 weeks, and that's what we should look like in our prime. Here's another great example. This was a fairly unhealthy. She had some more significant health problems, and that's a pretty significant weight loss there. That was about 3 months, and boy, I think at least 35 or 40 pounds, maybe more than that. So that's an example of weight loss. We were, again, with Lisa there, we were not treating weight. We were treating a lot of more severe health problems. Of course, the weight comes off. Again, it's just a side effect of the same biochemical problems that are causing those other health problems. So that's the result. Here is Ellie, young and healthy, not too many health problems, and here's 3 weeks later, back to her fighting weight, where she likes to be. And here is Karen, 3 weeks, again, not here for weight, but you become trim and fit and lean and feel great when you restore biochemical balance, even if it only takes 3 weeks. And here's, I think Tim's probably on tonight. Here's Tim. Tim, we always love showing your picture because we were treating against some significant health problems with Tim, but a nice weight loss there as well. So weight loss is easy. It really is. You have to know how to do it right. You have to learn the education along the way and to make it last. Of course, we use our detoxification program, the Cell Center program. I'll skim through some of these slides. And we're going to be announcing a new sublingual version to this soon, probably in the next few days. We know a lot of people want to do the oral version. We don't think it's as effective, but we want to provide a new medicine-backed product to give everybody something safe. There's most people doing sublingual products out there doing something that is not only maybe not safe, but not very effective. So we're going to be coming out with that. This is a detoxification system that works. It mobilizes fat. It allows you to go on a reduced calorie diet, a very healthy diet, lose that fat quickly, and very scientific, great medical oversight. This is a separate webinar in itself about our Cell Center program. 3 weeks to 6 weeks. Once you've done one round of the program, you can do fewer weeks after that as follow-up programs, but again, it's always very effective. It's a great tune-up to truly remove toxins and get that fat removed and the toxins with it. and to reiterate that the most concerning thing to me about weight and weight loss is what's being done currently, which is typically using medications like amphetamines, which artificially accelerate your metabolism, burning not just fat but bone and muscle, doing nothing to correct the underlying biochemical imbalances. There's typically very little education or science involved, even when basic lab work is done. And what happens then is once the amphetamines are removed, you're going to have a very, very slow metabolism and gain more of that fat back and not regain the bone or muscle. So that's not the way to go. There's no education there. There's no understanding of what it takes to be healthy, and that's incorrect. Some centers might use the HCG program. A lot do. It's all over the place, but they don't do it correctly. It's poorly produced HCG. There's no education. A new trend I see, and I saw with a cardiologist, is using HCG and amphetamines. That's even more dangerous. So much incorrect things happening out there. A lot of programs use some nutrient injections. There's NIC injections. There's carnitine, vitamin C, B12. These things, these natural nutrients certainly aren't bad for you, but they're just not enough to get what needs to be removed done. And again, you're fighting a losing battle. These biochemical imbalances and toxicities are very potent and strong controllers of the body and need to be removed correctly. So we feel that this way is really the way to do it. At 8:30, again, ask for any questions or comments. I just had a warning sign come up, so I'm not sure what was going on there. Any questions or comments, please let me know. I wasn't going to take this to be too long tonight. I wanted to have short discussions about these conditions during our weekly webinars, and so I'll start perhaps wrapping up tonight unless there's any questions or comments. And we can refer back to
Dr. Pearson?
Webinar information. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's Patty. I do have
go ahead.
questions here. Jerry
Great.
File.
They're not coming through on my screen.
Okay, I'll just tell you. Jerry File, can Dr. Pearson comment about food in terms of quote-unquote gourmet too? In other words, he's heard you discuss that we have to be careful for toxins even when not at McDonald's. Cisco trucks are servicing at all restaurants. What does it mean? Same source but perceived better quality but not.
Absolutely. Good question, Jerry.
The
We talk about food in general and why it's gone downhill so much. And gourmet is a good word to bring up. Natural is a good word to bring up. So we think about fast food as being the bad food, but it's basically any food that's not labeled that it's real food. Organic's the best word today. It means it's free of pesticides, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, that it's been either plants, products, or animal products that have been raised free of pesticides and fertilizers and organophosphates, all these things that our bodies don't like. Now we're going to get these chemicals anywhere we get our food that's not going out of their way to label things as free from these chemicals. Organic is a word. You'll see meats that are labeled growth hormone, antibiotic, everything free, grass-fed, free-range cattle. You need to be looking for all of these terms. That's part of what we teach during the treatment. And yes, just because something is gourmet really doesn't mean anything, because it can be the same toxic food. It typically is going to be that toxic food. Gourmet really means expensive, unfortunately, to me. So any restaurant, anywhere in this country, and now really any modern countries are following our lead for profit. These chemicals are more profitable to use for food than real food. So it's a side effect of living in the modern world is that you're going to be getting this toxic food, whether it's gourmet. Here's a slide I often use to discuss this, whether it's that gourmet meal, that $50, $100 steak on the right. Shoot, it could be a couple $100 in New York. If it's just good old steak and it's not labeled grass-fed, free-range, you name it, it's going to be that cheaply produced, toxic, chemicalized cow. That's the ones you see on the increasing number of movies like Food Inc. or I think it's Knife Over Fork or Fork Over Knife, something like that, showing how incredibly toxic our food industry is, showing these cattle that are injected with hormones and standing in their own muck and being fed things they're not supposed to be fed, and shoulder to shoulder in the stalls. Unhappy food, chemical food, it's everywhere, whether it's McDonald's or that gourmet restaurant, unless you know that it's organic. Now, we know this, the masses know this, it's becoming very trendy that we want organic food, we want green food, we want sustainable food, biodynamic, it tastes better, it's better for the environment, it's better for our world. This is becoming trendy, so I really think the future's positive, but we've got to get past this tipping point where unless we look for it, it's not going to be healthy. And it's all in the name of the dollar. It's all in using chemicals is cheaper than using real nutrients. There's a story I might bring up real quick that have seen some good research that some of the slag, the waste products that come out of chemical plants and plastic plants is full of minerals. It's just part of the slag, the waste. Well, it's pretty cheap. I actually think they probably get paid to take that waste off these companies and do something with it. Well, if you dump that high mineral content waste onto plants, they've found that a lot of these minerals can make the plants grow really well. So that's where a lot of these fertilizers are coming from, is this waste products off of these industries, because that's a cheap source of plant minerals. And along with those minerals comes all of this toxic junk that is just horrendous for us. So that's a worst case scenario, but that's how bad it can be out there. So again, it can be any source of food. It's trendy to go get healthy food, sustainable food, locally produced. It's a better chance of coming from these large multinational corporations that are using these highly profitable but highly corrupt and highly toxic food practices. And another slide here is just this seed genetics. We didn't even talk about genetically modified, but that's really what's happening as well, is we are using gene therapy and manipulation to try to make more food or make insect-resistant crops and things like that. Well, our body knows the difference. Our genes know that the genes being fed to them are not the right genes, and so that's causing a lot of issues as well. Let's talk about cancer and other things, this epidemic of illness. So we've just got to get away from all of this bad food. It's that simple. So great question, Jerry. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Or we could talk a bit about food in general. Jump in anytime if there's a question, but one of the reasons that we are so passionate about the word organic, number one, it just means life. Our organs, organic, we should be eating things that promote life, and that's why the word is a good word to use. We're eating live food. It sustains health, sustains our environment. Whether it's raw or not, we want it to come from a raw state. We can certainly cook it. We believe in cooking foods. Again, broad spectrum diet, some raw foods, some cooked foods. Non-toxic and genetically pure. That's what our bodies want. That's how our body stays healthy. That's how health turns around quickly. So that is key. Food is life and food is medicine. Hippocrates himself, let thy food be thy medicine, and that is so true. We've gotten so far away from that in the last few decades. Really it started really 70 or 80 years ago around World War II. We started to really learn how to engineer chemicals and engineered nerve gases and toxins, and learned that those became great pesticides for crops, and that's where it all started. So about 70 or 80 years ago, then 30 or 40 years ago, we began directly allowing this to be injected into our food supply, and that's when things really started to get worse. That's when my grandfather, who was a surgeon at the time, really saw things getting worse. And the answers now to the illnesses that are arising from these toxic issues are more and more toxins, so more and more medications. So now we're just on life support at a very early age, whether we feel bad mentally or physically or whatever goes wrong, we're just given another medication, again, because they're very powerful and very profitable. And it just makes us worse. So it's a downward spiral: bad food, bad health care, bad medicine. We're getting worse. It's accelerating. It's unsustainable. It's bankrupting the country. It doesn't feel good, and as a whole, it provides for a fairly unhealthy and unhappy body. So we'll talk about psychiatric issues some more down the road. Certainly a huge problem in the country, not just not feeling good mentally. And it comes back to the same issues, the biochemical imbalances and hormonal deficiencies, and the fact that we just jump in and treat them with more chemicals. So getting back to weight loss and obesity, any kind of supposed solution that uses more chemicals is not going to be the solution. So the most drastic result there is surgery. The most synthetic artificial solution is let's go change all of our plumbing inside and put a loop around our stomach and force us not to eat. Then we'll reduce the calories, but we won't restore the nutrients. We'll actually make the nutrient deficiencies worse. The surgery itself is incredibly toxic, incredibly expensive. I mean, it's just more of the same issues to just the simple medications that are being used, the non-organic diets, the diets that don't promote real nutrition, real food. They don't work. They simply don't work. So talk about Weight Watchers, talk about Jenny Craig. There's just no focus on nutrition, not to mention science, sustainability, lifestyle education. It's just really not there. It's all counting calories and not talking about any of these really major issues at hand here. Any other questions? Going on 8:40. And I don't know where our attendees are from, whether they're West Coast or East Coast, but if we're East Coast, maybe starting to get a little late for people. So I'll pass it back over to Patty, and if we have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, Doctor, I did send you, hopefully it came through. Did you check your chat? There were a couple of more questions and comments.
There we go, my chat. I had questions open. Okay, so here we've got adrenals, and looking at an adrenal stress test, being low in the morning and high in the evening, and using an adrenal complex and phosphatidylserine at night. Well, adrenals are a big part of health. They're the quarterback gland. I would refer you to, again, our hormone webinars go into adrenals in depth. Now, what you're describing there is what we call the reverse adrenal. Adrenals should be really high in the morning and low at night, producing a lot of energy in the morning, like starting your car and getting out of bed. Low at night so we can go to sleep. You're starting to have very fatigued adrenals that are not able to do that in the morning, and then kind of overcorrect at night. When they're able to produce the lower amounts, they go crazy and produce too much, and it messes up your sleep. Now, naturopaths have a much better idea of what's going on, but unfortunately these natural treatments that I've used for many, many years just aren't strong enough to get you there. What you need to do is you need to get some, they certainly aren't going to hurt. I've used phosphatidylserine. It's just not really that as effective as it needs to be. I usually say that natural treatments are about 10% effective. You've got to get in there and do some prescription level hormonal balancing. You've got to do some bioidentical hormonal balancing. Underneath the adrenal fatigue is really a more important progesterone deficiency or testosterone that you've got to restore, or those adrenals will keep trying to crank out those deficient hormones for a long, long time. So there's just more to be done. They're on the right track, but it's just not powerful enough to really get you there. Weight loss is going to be helped by all of this stuff, but that underlying hormonal imbalance has to be addressed. Talking about here from Donna. Hi, Donna. Always great to be talking to you. And we've got hair loss questions. And hair is kind of one of those, hair and nails and skin, libido. Really, everything has to be imbalanced. You can have high or low estrogen, high or low testosterone. You've got to be really healthy and really balanced chemically and really nourished to have these healthy things that we all want, hair, skin, and nails. They really need to be, we need to be healthy through and through. There was a, let's see, there was a test done here. Talking about some low progesterone and then going for the adrenals first. See, I think this is a bit backwards. Oh, that was from Audra. Okay, Audra, hello. Again, I'd refer you to the hormone webinar we did. Adrenals are very important, but there's a much more important underlying deficiency. That progesterone deficiency is probably more significant than it appears. That needs to be done first. So what we typically do is replace progesterone and DHEA to support the adrenals first. And it's conservative, but I say it's aggressive conservative, if that makes any sense. We want to bring those deficiencies up to really high optimal levels for you at your age and physiologic strong levels to first support that underlying problem with the adrenals. Then the adrenals usually will heal themselves over time, but it's very hard to heal adrenals by themselves because they'll always be trying to pick up the slack for that underlying androgen, that progesterone or testosterone deficiency. So yes, adrenals are very important, but usually as they're the quarterback of the body, you kind of got to get the whole team stronger, and especially the center, which is right in front of that quarterback, to let the quarterback just do their job and kind of rest. Sometimes and frequently we have to actually use bioidentical cortisol, which is like taking the quarterback out of the game and letting him sit on the bench and just rest for a while, maybe even a few games. So those are all things that that the head of your medical team needs to know how to do bioidentically, which is why we like to work with naturopaths and other doctors and let them do all of their natural treatment. But when we need to step in and do prescription level bioidentical hormonal balancing, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done to most people. It's very powerful and it's very effective. It's very natural. It's very healthy, and it's relatively inexpensive. So that needs to be done. Now then is when you see that healthy hair, healthy skin, healthy energy, healthy aura. You get all of that back. It's so much of it has to do with hormones. Of course, you detoxify. Of course, you get nutritionally sound too. Replace big deficiencies, omega-3s, probiotics, vitamin Bs, D3. All of that needs to be tested and make sure that it's at high levels. Then you get that radiant, healthy look that we all want, and that's something that we see return very, very quickly. And in those pictures that we show, we see it happen within weeks. The power of biochemical balancing naturally is remarkable. We see the same things, just to mention, we see the same things with other problems. So, talking about cholesterol imbalances, we see these things correct very quickly. More powerful than even medications, I would say. That's where we stand on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pearson. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. It's almost 9 o'clock. I will ask you to check with the New Medicine Foundation website under events. We have posted a couple of new items, and we'll be posting a couple of more over the next day or so. So stay in tune to the New Medicine Foundation website. And thank you again for joining us this evening. Good night.